people. That's where she
it's a symbol of poor fashion choice, which that is.
So I didn't even check to see. He might have deleted me. We really went. I don't know. I was friends with this guy in the first place, but he might have deleted me because I didn't hear anymore. I was like, oh my God, now I have to Facebook argue and keep going back, which I really hate doing. I was like, I'm gonna say things one time and then I'm done. I'm done. I'm not gonna keep saying, and again, I'm not gonna do that. So I didn't hear any more about it, but that was just so petty to me. And I was like, this is a poor argument if you're trying to defend the Confederate flag coming down from the Capitol building. I'm like, this is a piss poor argument.
That you could take a symbol of hatred that is rooted in this country's history of people that were beaten, families broken apart, just the whole history of the South.
Culture stripped.
Right, seriously. The fact that you could take something like that and even try
compare it to two teenagers with their pants down.
I don't like saying it
Me either. I do not.
But that gets back to people trying to filter other conversations into this main conversation.
Semantics is just trying to get away from
the real conversation.
The real conversation.
And that's why I want people to be aware of. You've got a lot of people out there that are trying to deflect you from the real conversation that needs to happen in this particular situation that happened in Charleston, South Carolina, which is about racism.
Yes.
We're going to get to gun control in a minute.
Yes.
But it's about racism, and don't let people take you off of your task.
They didn't take me off of mine. I was like, I'm going to say something. You're not fooling me.
All right. So that wraps up Social Media Mavericks and Facebook Petty. We're going to take another break and get to the home stretch, the Maya Akai Show featuring comedian Nikki Braden. Stay tuned,
baby.
Population. What's that?
Clip is broken. It's off. Clip is broken.
It won't.
Clip is broken. Clip is broken.
Okay, I'm gonna set up. I don't know if I'm gonna use the girl who goes into about the systematic racism. It's like it's 5 minutes, but I may not play the whole thing. Just a small portion, but I'll cue you on it because we're doing Chuck Norris first.
Okay, whatever, because it's already queued.
For my lab. Okay, cool. All right.
Oh, you know what? Turn your volume down.
I was gonna ask you, is it a little hot?
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard it.
JBC Radio's new Jazz Radio. Sign up to be a VIP listener and win $365 every hour. GSJBC Radio's
That's right.
Smooth Jazz Gospel. Learn more at http://live365.com/GSJBC Radio. Get super voices at voicebuddy.com.
Welcome back to the Maya Akai Show. We're getting the home stretch here at the studio of Smooth 90.5 FM HD. Got a little call to action about how to get involved on a more frequent basis with listening to the station.
Yeah.
Of course, it's HD radio as well as you can listen to Sirius XM, channel 432. Or hey, it's even on Live 365. Lots of different ways that you can listen to the station, whether you are stationary at your laptop, if you're in your car. I mean, lots of different ways you can listen. And of course, we stream live. You can see what's going on in studio with Ustream.
Look
do
at
that.
me.
Yeah, you would just go right to the website, go to WGSJBCradio.com, and you can watch and listen or click for a link to listen as well. So different ways you can listen or watch the show. Also, we keep active on social media. So if you want to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, it's at the Maya Akai Show. I do Instagram, Maya Akai. That's MayaAkai. I feel like everything's on phonics with this show. All these different names we got going. You know, and of course, you can always call in. I know it's a toughie. We've had to deflect some people. I'm not quite sure what they've been talking around about, so we said no to that. But if you're going to be right about whatever, 708-223-0030 to join the conversation. But it seems like the social media aspect is where people like to get involved. Because I understand your work. You can't, dip off.
Whisper.
Start talking, whispering.
Yeah.
All right, so we're into the soapbox segment, which is it good, clean rhetoric, or is it just suds? So, once again, this is about, can you listen to what they say and take something from it, or do you just instantly block it out because it just doesn't fall in line with what you think is right? So Chuck Norris, who was a conservative and known to be outspoken,
Yes.
made his comments about Charleston, and the first thing that Chuck did was acknowledge, along with his wife, that they gave a very sincere and heartfelt condolences to the families of the 9 victims, and including the pastor and the senator that were gunned down in cold blood. He was very clear about that. He even went into a statement saying that racism is still alive and well in this country, and we need to acknowledge it. But then he shifted gears after he entered into the conversation the correct way.
He went from 1 to 5 too. I don't even think he put
Real
the
quick.
clutch in. He just
He then
shifted.
went in and
Yes.
said pretty much he did not like President Obama. His response to what happened in Carolina, he felt he was dead wrong. And he said he felt that President Obama immediately took advantage of the tragic situation in South Carolina massacre by trying to promote his anti-gun agenda. Mm-hmm. And he said, he placed the blame with these brutal murders upon the lack of gun restrictions and laws. And he said, innocent people were killed, yes. But at the same time, it's got nothing to do with the gun laws. And he really, what was interesting about this, and a lot of people just shut down what he said. What I thought was interesting is that he went in and gave some facts that I thought were pretty key about the rise in gun violence in churches. That a decade ago there were 10, and in 2014 there was 176 like gun-related violence in churches. He said so.
Isn't that insane?
And first of all, I didn't even know that number. That's really high to me. Who's going in churches and shooting?
This is what I mean.
So I was like, okay, that's interesting. He went in to talk about countries where they have very strict gun laws and how that doesn't prevent any of the crimes that have happened there, because what happens is the straw man steps in. And those are the people who purchase the guns for people who don't own the guns and give them to them. And in the case of Dylan Roof, what we're finding out is that his father actually gave it to him as a gift.
Yes.
So he wasn't even the purchaser of the gun. So when someone becomes a middleman in a weapons purchase, they're called the straw man.
Yes.
Is what they're referred to as. So he said, a lot of times you're talking about tightening up legislation, and what you're doing is taking away the ability of law-abiding citizens to decide they want to own a gun to protect themselves, often against people who shouldn't own a gun in the first place because they didn't get it the right way.
Right.
And he was like, statistics shows that a lot of these violent acts, most of those people were not legal carrying gun carriers. And I thought that was interesting. And that conversation keeps coming up. And I'm going to say this, people. I'm not an advocate of, and I don't believe in guns. I don't feel comfortable with guns. But I will say, I don't personally feel that changing the gun laws is going to resolve the issues we have in this country with gun violence.
Not at all. I don't
because
think so either.
Behind every person that's been a perpetrator of any of these kind of violent acts, as Arthur Chu said earlier, there's a motive.
Yes.
There's a story, there's a backdrop behind why they chose to do this. Their ideology, their life experiences, all these things play into why they felt that they had to go extinguish somebody else's life. Mm-hmm. And the means to do it just happened to be guns. So my thing is, if he went in there and stabbed 9 people, would we be talking about
knives?
If he blew people up with a bomb? How will we, you know what I'm saying? It was just his method so people can harp on this and disseminate again about talking about gun control. When you look at the numbers, they don't speak to legal gun-carrying peoples are not the perpetrators on this.
Right.
Rob, what's your thoughts? Because you've been in law enforcement. What's your thought in people kind of jumping on gun control and thinking that this is going to solve or save lives moving forward with any kind of issues like this?
Well, as you know, gun laws are not going to change. They are steadily harping on one particular gun shop in the south suburbs, Chuck Dalton's gun shop. And there's plenty of other gun shops that are selling guns underhandedly. You have 2 actors that are actually one actor who is a law enforcement officer. He is a police officer in Louisiana, Steven Seagal.
Oh, Steven.
And he actually still acts.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
And then of course Shaq. He's a police officer as well, Broward County.
Okay.
The laws have to change.
And how so? How does changing the law change these random acts of violence that we see the people that use guns?
Stop having a closed mind. Stop having a closed mind and just push that bill through. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. That's all it is. It's about the money. They don't care about the people. They prefer to see the people kill each other instead of them killing us. Plain and simple.
Well, what's interesting is they were saying since the Obama administration that there has been a rise in actual firearms production as well as request. They were saying it has increased since '09 with how many people have become gun-carrying individuals because they felt like his rhetoric was anti-guns, and the NRA has been so vocal. And the thing is, in this situation, and I'm gonna stick to this, I'm not gonna deviate from it, that you have to look at who is behind the trigger and the rationale. Arthur nailed it. It was his ideology, and now you're finding out more about Dylann Roof, where he was under a racist manifesto. He also felt it had something to do with protecting, women within his race. So he felt because there was danger to his existence in his country that was being taken away from him, and he felt a way to act out. He even said, allegedly, that he wanted to create a race war.
Right.
So obviously there has to be a catalyst to create a race war. So he used a means to do this, which was to kill people, and he used a gun.
Right.
But like I said, had the method been different, what would we be talking about?
I don't know, but and although I agree with Chuck Norris says, I get exactly what he's saying. Even though, let's say someone in the church, first of all, that just bothers me that you have to take a gun to church. That is bothering me. And so let's say, who would take a gun to church? Who would leave and go to Bible study and say, oh, I forgot my piece, let me grab that? No, I don't think anybody would ever do that. But let's say now we're more mindful that a high population of these tragedies are happening and occurring in churches. And let's say people start bringing guns to church. That still doesn't stop someone from coming in. If their intent is to kill, it's not going to stop them. Do you know what I mean? So
that's exactly the point. We have to get to the root of the problem is the person who feels disenfranchised. Why they feel the result or the outcome or the answer is to kill somebody else.
Right.
And it's usually mass amounts of people. It's usually not just one person that they choose to go in and kill. So, but we keep deflecting from the conversation and keep making it seem like it's the guns. Here's the thing. If you took all the guns... First of all, here's why I'm not for any change in gun control laws. One... What you're doing is taking the guns away from the people who may want to protect themselves.
The people in the church now who may now
church, school, mall, marathon, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where it is. And now one thing I do disagree with, just because someone had a gun sitting in the church doesn't mean that would have stopped Dylann Roof.
That's my point.
Usually results in a bad situation altogether.
Yes.
But people still would have been a casualty no matter if it was, maybe they could have killed him, maybe not. I'm not saying that's the answer. But the bottom line is that when you say you want to tighten up gun control laws, all you're doing is taking the right from law-abiding citizens to have the right to have their Second Amendment right, which is bear arms. We do know the people that generally are committing these acts
aren't the ones going in churches and shooting 9 people.
Right. We have enough sense what not to do with it. So you tighten up the laws on me, but yet the people who are getting them illegally or using straw men are still getting them. So now you're putting average citizens at a disadvantage.
Yes.
So if you can't even the playing field for everybody, then you need to leave it alone.
Yes, I concur.
And I don't believe in guns, don't want one, but my thing is this. Why take away that particular option for somebody if they want it, but you can't control, on the flip side, all the people who are getting them illegally?
Exactly.
And if you can't balance that out, then you need to let it alone. Because to me, you're creating an inequality overall, which makes no sense to me.
It's
and the fact that nobody sees that, like no one says, we're going to have a war on getting illegal weapons off the street.
Well, because Maya... What if you just look at it from a rational standpoint? If you say that, what you're saying is we have absolutely no control over the killings and these tragedies that occur, and they're not going to stop, and there's no solution to this. Gun control sounds like a solution. It sounds like somebody's trying to come up with something to calm the people. If you just say, it's nothing we can do about this in this country, it's going to keep happening, and there's no way to police and monitor that, nobody likes to hear that. Yeah. So if I say gun control, then that sounds like, okay, we're trying to find a solution to a problem, which we absolutely know there is no solution.
But here's the thing, and the average person realizes that it's smoke and mirrors. They realize that's not a solution.
It doesn't rationally, it doesn't make sense.
Right. It doesn't make any sense. We all know it's smoke and mirrors. I'm not, like I said, I'm not supporting the NRA, and nor do I believe in guns.
Right.
But to me, that solution is not the answer.
It's not.
Now, if you want to have a war on illegal weapons being distributed in communities, I'm all for that.
Yes, but they can't police that.
If you want to try to figure out how you can eliminate the straw man, which is still almost impossible, I don't know what to tell you.
Then we have to admit a whole bunch of other things on how we get guns illegally in this country Period. In the first place. So now we have to start talking about that. Who wants to talk about that? Because you're allowing these to come in, and why are you allowing these to come in? And the hands that they go in, you know exactly whose hands you're